Video Games Recon.
Hello and welcome to Video Games Recon and our second part of our top 20 Sega Genesis and Mega Drive games. Please keep in mind that these are just my humble opinions, so if you feel like the order's not quite right or your favourite game isn't in this list, then why not join in the conversation and post your top 20 or top 10 Sega Genesis games in the comments. And as an FYI, we will only be featuring one game from each franchise. Anywho, enough of that nonsense, and without any further ado, let's do it to it. 10. Desert Strike. Desert Strike is a great game, if a bit of a funny one to place. I guess you would call it a flying shoot 'em up sandbox game. See what I did there? Sandbox? Desert? Hey? Bad puns aside, Desert Strike was one of the pioneers in creating open world games, giving you the ability to roam around and do submissions, Easter eggs, and things in a different order than your mission requires, and as such, wouldn't have to follow a linear path. Which may seem the norm today, but back then, it was all fresh and shiny. And this, in my book, is the reason that this game was Electronic Arts' highest ever selling game at that time, and why it's so much fun, with plenty of replay value to boot. 9. Shinobi 3. Finally, it's about time we got a ninja on this list. Yep, that can mean only one thing: Shinobi 3 Return of the Ninja Master. Released in 1993 as a direct sequel to the second installment, The Revenge of Shinobi, which was a great game in itself, but for my money I feel Shinobi 3 just trumps it in terms of pace and fluidity. Hence its place at number 9 in this list, and unlike its predecessor has a reasonable difficulty level, so non-hardcore gamers like me can actually play it. And on top of all that, it comes with colourful graphics, great gameplay, and badass ninja powers that are just a few of the reasons as to why Shinobi 3 was received with critical acclaim and is still considered a classic. 8. Golden Axe. Originally released for the arcades in 1989, later that same year Golden Axe got a Sega Genesis port in the US and a Mega Drive port the following year, featuring this very questionable homoerotic cover art. Anyway, ridiculous abs aside, this game's lead developer was also instrumental in creating another game on this list in Altered Beast, and had a particular fondness for Conan the Barbarian, amongst possibly other things, with which Golden Axe was loosely based on. The film, that is, not the abs. And what's not to love about Golden Axe? Great button mashing gameplay, badass weapons, half naked people, hella cool dragons, special moves, and of course not forgetting the satisfaction gained by slaying those fucking annoying elves. Enough said. 7. Earthworm Jim. Based on a cartoon by the same name, Earthworm Jim is a beautifully made run-and-gun platformer, with fluid cartoon-style animations very similar to that of our number 13 spot, Disney's Aladdin. Aside from the fact that Earthworm Jim is essentially a worm in a robot suit on an adventure through space, which should be enough in itself, but the fact is that the thing that really sells this game is the solid gameplay mechanics and the production values combined with its awesome cartoonesque graphical style and its charming comedy that just works. 6. Road Rash 2. I absolutely loved both Road Rash 1 and 2. These games were amazing, as when I was a kid I just couldn't get enough of them, and Road Rash 2 is my top pick of the two, building on the success of Road Rash 1 with an all-over, more polished experience. Road Rash 1 and 2, released respectively in 1991 and 1993, are named after a slang term for friction burns that can occur in a motorcycle accident. This game, if you haven't already guessed, is based around illegal street races that you compete in, in order to earn more money, buy better bikes so you can enter better races and progress to be the best of the best. And when you're not duking it out with your rivals, you're having a dust up with a cop, or more often than not suffering some police brutality and getting arrested. However, one of the things that made this game special for me is that me and my sister discovered a cheat on how to start a one-player game with any bike you wanted by exploiting a glitch in the mano a mano game mode, almost a year before it was common knowledge in any gaming magazines. Yes, that's right kids, the only way to get gaming news back in the time of the dinosaurs when I was growing up was on the TV or in magazines. You know, ones made out of paper, not ones and zeros. Anywho, that aside, this game is addictive with a great learning curve and it's bags of fun to play. If you've never had Road Rash in your life, then you're missing out. Five, Mortal Kombat. It's beat 'em up time, and that can only mean one thing.
Mortal Kombat!
Sorry, I don't know what came over me there. Originally released on arcade machines, this game was later released on multiple platforms, including the Sega Genesis in 1992. This game played really well, was great fun, and was one of, if not the only genuine rival to the Street Fighter franchise at that time. It also featured realistic digitized graphics, which used a very similar technique to the pre-rendered 3D graphics previously discussed in games like Vector Man and Donkey Kong Country, and previously only seen in a handful of other games like China Warrior and Pit Fighter. But that aside, Mortal Kombat is probably most well known for the controversy that surrounded it, particularly on the Mega Drive, as Sega decided not to censor the violence, gore and innovative new finishing moves, unlike the family-friendly Super Nintendo, probably making it the superior of the two ports in most people's opinion. Not due to the graphical fidelity which the SNES version seemed to have in spades, but due to the good old-fashioned blood and guts which people seem to love and in turn sparked mass hysteria and controversy at the time. Mostly with older people who've never played a video game in their life, I might add, which in part led to the forming of the ESRB rating system. Four, ToeJam and Earl. ToeJam and Earl, released in 1991, is one of those original and unique classic cult games that has failed to be replicated since, with its pioneering gameplay mechanics like randomly generating levels, monsters and item drops, and the cool if quirky way in which how your screen would switch between a single view and a split screen in co-op mode. This combined with great graphics, soundtrack, gameplay and humour are just a few of the reasons that this game fills me with fond memories of my youth, regardless of arguing with my siblings over stealing all the presents or accidentally rocket skating off the side of a level. 3. Megalomania. Otherwise known as Tyrant's Fight Through Time in the US, Megalomania is one of my all-time favourite games, period. And as you can probably tell from a quick glance, it's a top-down viewed godsim, which might not seem all that by today's standards, but this game is hours of fun and extremely addictive, and as the name hints, is perfect for little megalomaniacs like myself. Now, in my opinion, this game is greatly underrated, and as such you may not have heard about this game, so let me inform you as to what you've been missing out all these years. The basic premise is that there's a magical nebula that gives birth to new galaxies that are inhabited by a simple and naive form of intelligent life, very similar to early man. And once a new galaxy is born, a great contest ensues in which the demigods of all the universes battle it out for ultimate control. Why they would need to use their new followers instead of their godlike powers to fight their rivals for supremacy of the galaxy, I have no idea, but it does make for a good game. Megalomania features include great colourful graphics, an awesome and eerie soundtrack, if a little repetitive at times, amazingly amusing and weird voiceovers, and pioneering gameplay mechanics like being able to mine elements, make blueprints, and mass produce designs all through different time periods and technological epochs, ranging from a prehistory era to a nuclear age and to the age of the flying saucer. But two of the most interesting mechanics was being able to speed up the passage of time and form alliances with your fellow demigods. If you've ever played a God Sim since, it's probably, if unbeknowingly, been influenced by the game mechanics in Megalomania. So, why not hunt out a copy or a ROM for yourself and see what all the fuss is about, and where some of the God Sims of the day sought their inspiration. Two. Streets of Rage 2. This game in my mind is a beat 'em up masterpiece and is the progenitor for all side-scrolling beat 'em ups since. Originally released in late 1992 in North America and early 1993 in Europe and Japan. This game is of course a sequel to the equally awesome Streets of Rage, built upon and improved by creating a very individual combat moveset for each character, making each character feel very different from one another, and unlike the first game where each character could feel quite similar, just with slightly different handicaps. It also has great graphics, even better music than the original, if such a thing is possible, and thus probably has my favourite, if not most memorable, video game soundtrack of all time. It also has upgrades to weapon pickups, i.e. swords and the like, and now all enemies have health bars instead of just bosses. The only thing in my mind that was missing was a super special move like in the first game, preferably one that doesn't deplete your health. So, in short, this game is simply amazing and still stacks up as an incredible experience even today. And it's a shame that games like this didn't evolve well on future generations of consoles. That being said, it kinda sounds like a no-brainer for an iOS, Android or Steam reboot, if done properly and not just as a cash grab, that is. So, before we reveal our number one game of our top 20 list, let's take a quick look back at the games featured in this list so far. 20. Out of This World. 19. Comic Zone. 18. Castlevania Bloodlines. 17. Kid Chameleon. 16. Vectorman. 15. Gunstar Heroes. 14. Strider. 13. Disney's Aladdin. 12. Altered Beast. 11. Gauntlet 4. 10. Desert Strike. 9. Shinobi 3. 8. Golden Axe. 7. Earthworm Jim. 6. Road Rash 2. 5. Mortal Kombat. 4. Toe Jam and Earl. 3. Megalomania. 2. Streets of Rage 2. And our number one Sega Genesis and Mega Drive game of all time has to be Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Okay, before you flip your lid about it being so cliche to put a Sonic game number one on your list, aside from the fact that the Sonic franchise was pretty much instrumental in the Genesis success, especially in the early days, and with Mario was incredibly influential in the 16-bit era. Sonic 2, released in 1992, is out and out an awesome game in its own right, and can stand on its own 2 feet regardless of the franchise's contribution to the Mega Drive, with it being a big improvement from the original Sonic game, which in itself was a great game. And with that benchmark, Sonic 2 stepped into those very big shoes and built upon the success in terms of improved level design, music, boss battles, bonus stages, underwater stages, and probably the most enjoyable improvement is the addition of a new character and the ability to play with a friend. as this game now has a versus mode which is Amazeballs. Yep, that's right, you heard me. The addition of a competitive 2-player mode warrants the words Amazeballs, regardless of its campness, as this add-on is so much fun and dramatically improves the replay value of this game, especially the bonus stages. Man, back in the day I loved kicking my sister and my friends' asses on the bonus stages, with its reaction and strategy / position style elements. These stages were kind of my specialty, and win, lose or draw, I found these rounds very satisfying. I also liked how if you lost the race to the finish line on a level, you could win in other ways, like having the highest score or collecting the most rings or opening the most item boxes. Also, being able to play single player as Tails is a pretty nice touch. And as such, you can see why this game has made it to the top spot and why it sold the second most copies of all games on the Sega Genesis, behind the original Sonic, which to be fair shouldn't really count as it was bundled in free with the Sega Mega Drive console. So, these are my thoughts and opinions of my favourite top 20 Sega Genesis and Mega Drive games, which I have a great fondness for, both the games in this list and the console in general, as it was my first ever console, and as such I may have seen a few of these games through rose tinted glasses. So, whether you agree with my list or not, feel free to post your favourite games in the comments section. Also, these videos take a while to make, so if you enjoyed this video I would really appreciate your support in terms of liking, favouriting and subbing. That just leads me to say, please insert your own joke about how Sega does and Nintendo don't, or something about blast processing, as I think I've filled my cliche and bad joke quota for this video. Anywho, thanks for watching and goodbye.